Hi again, everyone. I'm Ollie Matthews. This is the Narcissistic Resistance, and this resistance video is sponsored by contribution from Dan, and here's his story. Dear Ollie, I've come a long way in my recovery thanks to you. I am ready to expose these toxic people who played themselves off as the great American family. I will use generic names throughout the story. Being a tactical guy, they are bulleted ladder in the document. Enough with the lies. I want to share my story with your viewers. I have been listening to your work for a long time now, and I have stepped up the intensity of my healing with COVID-19. I am learning how to get away from dealing with a lifetime surrounded by narcissism and lies, and make sure another generation of kids doesn't have to go through what I had to endure. Your viewers' stories have more than validated the experience I have been a part of for a lifetime. You and your viewers opened my eyes to get me moving, to get out of the fog. Being someone who works a career that gives back, I want to give back now, Ollie. My name is Dan, I am 41 years old, and I want people to know that I am the oldest grandson on both sides of a radically different Terminator parents, their siblings, a few exceptions, but Terminators are Terminators. This is the family that raised me. It's all I know. Very similar to me. Yeah, I'm the oldest grandson. The oldest kid and the oldest grandson on both sides everywhere. I teach high school technology education in upstate New York. I believe that Trump is the best thing that happened to this country. Even though I may be a teacher, it does not mean my views follow the herd of others in higher education. Yeah, I mean, if you've watched my channel long enough, you know my general opinion on public school teachers. It's not good. Another profession riddled with narcissism. Because any profession that gives you control over a mass of people, especially children, it's like ringing the dinner bell for sociopaths. They want in on it. With that said, I have worked really fucking hard to get where I am, despite having parents that get off on trying to see me fail. They thrive on my parenting failures, relationship failures, and work failures. They get this information from their granddaughters. Man, they hate us Gen Xers. Well, that's what they do. They use our children. The boomers will use our children against us. The boomers do not want, cannot have Gen X being more successful, better than them, better parents than them. Gen X is the mirror to the baby boomers' face of how fucked up they are and how much they fucked up. And I've said this before. You want to know why society's in the condition it's in? You want to know why we're rioting and looting and why they were able to lock us down for COVID and why they were able to do everything they've been doing? Thank a baby boomer. Thank a baby boomer. They're responsible for all their policies, for all the tactics, for all the gaslighting, for all the sociopathy. Again, not every fucking baby boomer. Not every fucking baby boomer. So stop putting it in the fucking comments. "95% of you, though. So if you're in the 5% on my channel, I'm not talking to you. So stop putting it in the comments." Thank you. They really want to keep us miserable. Now that I am older, they use my daughters to keep us miserable. They take information, they say, put their own conclusion on it and make judgments. It's been hard, but my own kids, mentioned below, are seeing the damage my parents did to me. My parents for my higher education, but my parents for my higher education, but my parents paid for my higher education, but I would have traded that in for a lifetime of student loans just for them to be normal and caring parents who love others for who they are. If You as a human do not meet their image. They toss you aside. However, it's hard to toss your own son. They still don't recognize the love and respect, the communication I teach in shows. It feels good to finally be appreciated. My narc parents have used their tactics over a lifetime, and it's all I know. You opened my eyes to my entire life, and my Gen X aunt, who is a big part of helping me get out of the fog. You've educated me, Ali. I'm a hands-on guy, and I learned then to apply to survive. I have learned to live through failure and to teach learning from failure. My students do some tough work. Many do well because they know I see them as individuals. As a parent and teacher, I have to remember we were kids once too. I don't care what year or decade it is, you still treat people as people and not as game pieces. People who punish and belittle kids for failure to protect their family image is wrong. Just fucking wrong. But respect means being a good human being, not a Karen or a drunkie or many of the other asshat narcs I have heard on your recordings. I know how to recognize this shit and how to deal with it now, thanks to hearing your many cases shared. Yes, that sounds cliche, but I have lived this crap. And I'm glad to hear that, because being a teacher and coming into contact not with so many children, but their parents, you're able to recognize. Now you're hearing phrases and tactics and words and expressions and intensity being used, and you're able, that you have heard on this channel, and now when you're hearing it spouted from these people, you're able to pick right up on it and know what it is and know where it's coming from, so you know what you're dealing with. Let me say this to everyone about how I treat my children and high school kids. No one in my classroom or my home should ever have to go through what I did growing up. I was talked into going into teaching, and I'm glad I did, despite the lack of support by many around me. It saved my life and made me a better person. I will hit the 20-year mark in September 2021. I hope I have another 20 more years in me. Here's the beginning of my story, or the tip top of the iceberg. Boomers everywhere. My father was number 3 out of 4 siblings. His older brother passed away from lung cancer a few years ago. Guy never smoked a cigarette in his life. I believe in karma. My parents believed in traditional will. Oldest son handles it, end of story. I wish my uncle didn't pass away. Now the rest of my father's siblings. We have a boomer drunk aunt, his sister, a Gen X aunt. She is huge in this story. Gen X aunt was treated as I was, only worse. She was smart. She went no contact in 2011. More on her later. My mother is the oldest and golden child of her family. Queen Bee is putting it lightly. She is part of the traditional boomer family, just like my father. 4 kids, my mother being the oldest, then her sister, then my ballless uncle, who married a crazy selfish twat, then a Gen X uncle. Right. See, I'm the oldest, and both my parents were the oldest, like on both sides. It's weird for me. So your father's the third in line, okay, which would explain, you know, his lack of confidence and where his bullying probably comes from. Okay, see, mine, both of them were queen bees to the hilt. Both of them were the top of their families. Gen X uncle on my mom's side saved me as a kid. He spent time with me and took me places that interested me as a little kid. Get the offense radar up. About to drop something that might offend Karen. I'm half Italian and proud of my heritage and what my grandfather did during World War II. He won't be mentioned here because he was a good guy. He died in 1998 during my first semester of college. Good guy. Again, get the offense radar up. About to drop something that might offend Karen the Boomer. I'm about to insult. Drum roll. I come from a traditional Italian family. Church pushed, Bible, etc. I wanted no part in being involved with a religion. They always held this over my head because, well, apparently I was baptized in secret, so they held that over my head my whole life. Why the hell was I baptized in secret? Why would traditional Italians have to baptize anybody in secret? See, I tried the same thing with my first marriage. Like, I wanted no part of the church. I wanted no religion. And they lost their mind. We're not going to come, and no family's going to come, and you got to have a wedding in a church. I wanted no fucking part of it. They tried to use this secret baptism over my childhood and adolescence as a covert way to get me to become a son husband. I had no idea what that meant until I watched your material. They were doing it, and I subconsciously resisted, even though I had no idea what I was resisting. My mother's image is tainted. She can't parade around a son husband and be perfect. Final summary, so the names of my story make sense. Mom's side, oldest to youngest. Mom, aunt, ballless uncle, Gen X uncle, who was a good dude. Dad's side, oldest to youngest. Old uncle who passed away from cancer. Drunk Ann, whose husband hoovers us regularly. We will call him the Hoover Man. Piece of shit overt narc father, Gen X Ann, brought me out of the fog and invalidated what I knew my entire life. Please note, Drunk Ant's husband, Hoover Man, is the only married-in relative I will mention. Look, Ollie, it's the perfect American boomer family. 2 perfect families, 4 kids, traditional homestead, and blah, blah, blah. It's all about image with them. They make us aware of the way a traditional family should be all the time. My grandparents on both sides saw some serious shit in their lives. They also did some fucked up shit. Personally, I don't care what they did because I was not there. What I do have a problem with is that their children, especially my parents, did the same stuff, knowing what they were doing. It was wrong. Of course they did. Baby boomers were the most entitled, spoiled generation that ever walked the fucking planet, and they still are. When my grandparents were young, they had nothing. They gave their kids, my parents, aunt, and uncles, everything they could. Depression, world wars, JFK's assassination, they saw it all. Sad that their boomer children showed no appreciation for anything their parents worked a lifetime for. They just took it all in the estates. All except my Gen X aunt and uncle actually planned their retirement around my grandparents' end of life. It wasn't about time and who was going to do what when. It was waiting for them to die so they could take it all. Examples of their selfishness coming up. Baby boomers were always waiting for their parents to die. Always. Oh, you want to see a miserable boomer? Okay? You want to see a miserable boomer? Find a boomer with a parent in a nursing home. Or 2 parents in a nursing home, or needs money, or needs home health care, or needs anything, and listen to the bitching. They're spending my whole inheritance. They're using it all up. It's all going to be gone. That's how boomers generally think about their parents. That's what we were raised by, and we all heard it from them. At some point, oh my God, you've all heard it. You've all heard it from a boomer. In your life. Oh my God, my parents going to have no money left. That's my inheritance. There's going to be nothing. Fuck off. You didn't build it anyway. It ain't yours. And the funny thing is they created this counterculture in the late 60s where they're diving in the mud, fuck the establishment, fuck these people, but that's normal. They want the money. It's why they're hypocrites. And they've created the same thing today with our children. When I was somewhere between the age of 2 and 4, I fell into the deep end of my grandparents' in-ground pool. Please note this was a different house than I live in now. I did buy my grandparents' house on my father's side. More on that later. They had a nice 20-foot by 50-foot pool. They rented it out to the YMCA down the street for their programs. My grandparents helped the community and made some side coin. No big deal. I love pools and never had one growing up. I finally have one. We put it in fall of 2016. The drowning comes up occasionally, but my father still lies about this event to this day. Shit, I fell into my pool backwards the other day. An instant trigger. I won't dive or go in backwards into the water to this day. The thing I could never get from my family that they won't say is how long I was in the deep end before someone got me out. Since this happened with my father's family, knowing how they are, I bet they were probably sitting around the table trying to see which one was smarter while the 3-year-old, I think, was drowning in the deep end. My youngest Gen X aunt was away at college, and I was doing an early round of no contact. When I started swimming lessons, I was only able to get so far. The instructors would not advance you to the next level if you could not dive. Sorry for not diving. I wanted to learn how to lap swim. With the right coaches, I probably could have overcome my fear of going into the pool head first. My parents never bothered to notice or care about the trauma I have going into the water head first. They didn't note how well everything else was going with swimming. They just focused on the negative. Right, that don't matter. Because they know why you're afraid to go into the pool. They don't want to address what they broke in the first place. And especially they're going to use it as a tool to fuck with your head and to hold you down. Because that's what the fucking boomers did to us. They never asked how I felt about diving. They claimed to be smart but couldn't put 2 and 2 together when it came to my fear of going head first. They didn't put 2 and 2 together because they didn't give a shit. They already knew the answer. They know the answer. They don't need to. They know what it is. The answer implicates them, so they're never going to ask for it. Typical boomer philosophy kicked in. If you can't pass the test, you can't meet the standards, you can't continue. Me not advancing was my fault in their eyes. They would not continue to spend their money on swim lessons. More money for them and the golden child. But wasn't the swim lessons in your grandparents' backyard? Like, really? So other kids were going to be able to do swim lessons in your grandparents' pool. Okay. Sounds like something my parents would have done. That's the way. Anything to fucking torture you. So that's just the icing. When my sister was born in 1983, they immediately pitted us against each other. They got their golden child. She is like them. She talks like them. But she has issues. Since I went final no contact with my parents end of February 2020, contact from my sister has increased. I wonder why. You're a good teacher, Ollie, because she is now, listen, they gotta make somebody the scapegoat. Guess who it's gonna be now? I told her I do not blame her at all for the strained relationship, but I won't forgive her for being a part of one of the worst things my parents could ever do to me about to get to this. The next part connects these two scumbag families and shows what lowlifes they are. The way they treat death and how others handle it is disgusting. Let me explain. A lot of shit is going to come together here. I want to preface this with what they did to me, what they did to my Gen X aunt. My Gen X aunt is on my father's side when they came to my my Gen X aunt is on my father's side when it came to my grandma on my father. When my grandma left us on my father's side, she chose how she was going to leave us. She beat 2 forms of cancer and a stroke. In October 2012, I got a call saying she had another form of cancer or had the choice. She had another form of cancer and had the choice of living 9 months to a year, knowing the last few months would be hell, or get treatment and have to deal with the side effects. She chose not to get treatment. I feel karma worked in her favor because she didn't have to watch her oldest son get his ass kicked by cancer. My Gen X aunt, who lives halfway across the country, decided not to return when Grandma passed. They smear campaigned her so hard. They used my grandma's kindness as a way to bait us grandkids against her. And guess what, asshats? I know my aunt, and there had to be a goddamn reason why she didn't come up. They offered all expensive paid, of course, would have been deducted from her inheritance, and to be put up and to put her up. She still said no. I haven't seen her or my youngest cousin or my uncle since 2011. My probably because she wanted nothing to do with the family. Probably because she's Gen X and she realized a long time ago, I'm not dealing with these people. They're toxic. No matter who dies or what happens. My Gen X aunt came over and was very upset. We had dinner. I caught up with my cuz after that. Never saw her in person again. What happened with my Gen X aunt and grandma is between them. She shared some personal stuff that is between us, but it was bad, and I get why she didn't want to come back. She told me after our conversation, all this was never your fault, and you have done really well for yourself considering all the shit they put you through over a lifetime. Right. See, and here's what I'm thinking as I'm reading this, is you're saying you're and it's hard to keep, because there's a lot of people. It's hard to keep who's who and what's what. But saying your niceness of your grandmother here and you didn't understand it, your grandmother might have been nice to you, but I guarantee you that your aunt has some real issues with her. And there was probably some borderline personality disorder and some competition that went on, okay? That she was the black sheep and she's holding, and she probably has a right to her grudge. And that's why she didn't come back. Same issues that you have with your family, I'm sure it's the same issues she has. She just saw it first. Gen X aunt's contact info was kept from me since 2011, right? Because they saw you as a threat, and they knew you'd probably see things her way. I finally got Gen X aunt's contact info from her drunk sister in 2017, and when she was drunk. When I called Gen X aunt, she wasn't ready to talk. She didn't answer the phone. She probably wasn't ready to go there yet. I didn't understand what I did and why she wouldn't talk to me over all those years. I get it now. Sadly, there are innocent casualties of these boomers, and you're still in contact with these people. She probably didn't want to deal with anybody who was still in contact with these boomers. You didn't go no contact until this year. And my advice to her would have been to ignore anybody who is still in contact, who knows who the boomer is, and knows who the narcissist is, okay, and still maintains contact. So if you're still trying to if you're trying to contact her while you're still in contact with your family, I don't blame her for not picking up. I had a gut feel on this leap year to call her, so I did on February 29th, 2020. She was a little scared at first, probably because she thought someone in the family put me up to calling. I kept telling her, I'm not like them, and I was thankful to hear her voice. I'll be forever grateful of her assurance and support she gave that day. Now it's the Terminator merge. The next part focuses on my grandma, on my mom's side, passing in 2015, and my assigned punishment agreed on by both my mother's side and father's side. Exactly. This passing of grandma on my mother's side was a result of her being put in a shit nursing home and not having enough staff on her when she fell. There it is, the nursing home. That's why they put them in the cheapest, because here's what happened. They found the cheapest nursing home they could to put her in because because all they care about is the money. That's all they care about. That's all the boomer cares about is the money. And who can I eliminate from getting any? My queen bee narc mother visited her regularly. I would imagine out of guilt that she put her in a bad nursing home when she had the financial means to put her in a nicer place. Oh, by the way, my grandfather on my father's side was put in the same nursing home a year later. Gotta save that estate money. It's what I told you it was about, Dan. Told you. Told you. I knew it. Told you. It's all about the money. It's all about the money. Money they didn't earn. The entitlement of these fucking people. The main part of this story now. My father's parents owned a beautiful waterfront cottage in southern Maine. Grandpa paid $30,000 in the late 60s. I grew up there in the summers my entire life. My generation's childhood, adolescence, and adulthood was spent in this great southern Maine community. We loved it, and we made sure our parents know we loved it. Guess what the boomers did while Grandpa was still alive and in the nursing home? They sold the cottage. Didn't have to be sold unless Grandpa ran out of money. But that's always what they're always worth. It's what I'm telling you. This is like the boomer. The boomer fucking war cry. They're gonna spend all our money. The nurses are gonna sell my entire inheritance. It's all about the money. Why? Because they've destroyed the economy. Because they haven't really made any money on their own. They've stolen everything. They've taken it all. But it's not enough. They want their parents' money and they want their kids' money. They don't stop. Boomers saw the return of my grandparents' favorite place and nothing more. They sold the cottage in southern Maine for $475,000. There were asshats to the new owners. Would not do anything for them or address issues that needed to be taken care of before transfer of ownership. Ollie, my generation, Gen X, sees something to be handed down. We know we won't ever see a place like that again. All we would have had to do is pay taxes and utilities. Everything completely grandfathered in. No flood insurance or anything else. We could take the risk if an ocean wave took the place out. They don't care. It's about the money. All they see is they're spending my inheritance. The baby boomer war cry. They're using up my inheritance. Booty hooty hoo. My grandfather on my father's side was like Hyman Roth, Godfather 2. He thought he was going to live forever. Grandpa never protected his assets, so when Grandma died in 2013, his children neglected to take care of him, a man who was in a state of dementia and relied on my grandma to keep his mind straight. They said all this great stuff, and then they just left him in the house, only checked on him twice a week, hoping he'd die before he spent the money. In October 2014, my drunk aunt found my grandpa on the floor of the kitchen. He was still alive. Bet she was upset about that. They never said what happened as to why he was found there. Grandpa had to go to a nursing home, and conveniently they put him in the same nursing home my queen bee's mom was in. These goddamn boomers and their money that isn't theirs. They're so greedy. Yup. My neighbor behind me at our old house was the founder of the best nursing home in our area, lived on my street. Heck, my wife's grandma worked for them as a nurse for 20 years after she retired from being a nurse. This was a good place. I spoke to the best nursing home founder about my grandfather and what he really liked and if his place could accommodate. My former neighbor made a few calls. Within a week, he was going to give him a room with a sliding glass door and a patio that just opened up. High-end, top-notch place, and Grandpa had the money and the assets to live out his life in luxury. Oh, bullshit. Oh, bullshit. That's boomer money. That's boomer money. You ain't getting that. Oh, wait, here come the boomers. Yup. They put a stop to that and felt that the nursing home that Queensbee's mom, grandma, was in would provide adequate care. Fuck them. Wait, whose money is this? They think it's theirs. They think the boomer thinks everybody's money is theirs. Everybody's money is, everybody's possessions, everybody's everything belongs to the boomer. They are entitled, spoiled little fucking brat children. They just are. When Grandpa went into the lousy nursing home, I decided that I would buy my grandparents' house. Not the one where I fell in the pool. I bought the house while Grandpa was alive and in the nursing home. I have 4 kids, ages 13 and 6, and yes, 2 sets of twins. Oh, okay, I gotcha. So you had twins twice. Wow. The boomers, after their money, want it easy. And I guess I made it easy for them. Instead of a realtor in control, my asshole father got control. When my uncle was diagnosed with cancer, the executor was immediately switched to my father. What a fucking mess he made. Control, 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 control. You may ask, why would I buy a house at my asshole father's hands? Because what the fuck did I know in 2014? Yeah, exactly. I mean, you just didn't know any better. You've been under their fucking control your whole life. The house had meaning to you. You didn't want to see your grandfather suffer. But all these fucking boomers know how to do is take advantage of everybody. That's all they see. It's all about the money they get from the greatest generation. Those fuckers wanted Zillow price of $185,000 for my grandparents' house. My grandpa's lawyer, of all people, caught them on their attempt to extort more money than the house was worth from their own kid. Then again, my father fucking overcharged my brother for like a 1992 Dodge Avenger or whatever the fuck that was. Made him pay like $8,000, $3,000 over fucking value for it. Like, this is what they do. This is what boomers do. After following the legal process, the house was appraised at $162,000. We were fortunate that we could transition in while they raided. I mean, clear stuff out. While we transitioned in before closing the deal, my father and his siblings argued about every fucking thing in this house. Gen X aunt was smart and went no contact, stayed out of it. Listen, when I watched my mother and her sisters go at it when we were clearing out Virginia's house, I watched Barbara, the middle sister, corner Ginny, the youngest sister, in the kitchen, and just start bullying and just got in her face, start bullying her, like, what are you gonna do? Like, and I'm like, holy shit! And I saw, wow, this is what happened when they were kids. This is why the other two always talk shit on Bar. And I had, what are you doing? Whoa. I didn't see you standing there. And Barbara turned, just at that moment, I'm like, and I looked at her, because she was the one who looked the most like Virginia. And I looked at her and I said, you look just like Virginia right now. And I walked away. You look just like Virginia right now. This is what they do. They eat each other up. Should have just sat back and enjoyed it. Gen X aunt was smart and went no contact, stayed out of it. She had nothing to do with the transition of the house from my grandparents to my family. My aunt did give the nod to the boomer money grabbers that she was cool for the house to be sold to us as it is appraised value, not Zillow. Closing sucked. My father purposely fucked with the numbers so the lawyer would be confused. Yeah, my father did that to me at, when we were finalizing the divorce. Tried to push a fucking contract that he lent my ex-wife money, that I was going, like, what is, like, my lawyer looked like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And it had already been crumpled up, because obviously this had been some kind of fight between, and it got crumpled up, and then they tried to present it to me. Like, what is this crumpled piece of fucking, what is it? Are you out of your mind? They can't help themselves. They can't help themselves. My father tried to make $12,000 off me at my divorce, at the finalization of my divorce. You sack of shit. You fucking sack of shit, Brian. God, you're just shit. Never enough money, never enough. Don't matter, he stole the house from the fucking woman across the street. Signed over all her assets in her house, just like that. Sold it for $225,000 in 1994. Closing sucked. My father purposely fucked with the numbers so the lawyer would be confused. We were short $5,000 at closing. What? Of course, when I called my father, then my mother, then my father, then the lawyer got my mother to answer, my father was unavailable. Convenient, huh? The lawyer caught them on their bullshit, and we were good. $5,000. So they tried to get you for $5,000 at the closing of your house closing. Try to get me for $12,000 when I got divorced. Sack of shit. Immediately after we moved into our new home and finally settling after the hassle of buying through their estate, my grandma on my mother's side passed away. I mentioned above she died from a fall due to nursing home inadequate staffing on her. My Italian grandma had issues, but dealt. She was different around us as a group than individually. My queen bee mother is nuts, borderline histrionic. She refuses to get help. She says it's me and I'm the selfish narcissist. Wait until you hear how she was the architect for my punishment. The cottage in southern Maine was a special place. My daughters and I would go up to the cottage in July as a special trip. My friends from high school who live in a nearby state would come up. We are lucky if we see them twice a year. They had boomer parent issues too, but nothing like my family. Every year would make fun of all the post-its and its laminated documents all over the cottage that stated the rules. My asshole father chained up and locked the kayak boats. That was another thing Virginia would do at the beach house. She would put up signs of all the rules. There were fucking rules posted everywhere, in the shower, in the bathroom, how much toilet paper you could use, how much hot water you could use, where to put the beach chairs. What in the fuck? My asshole father chained up and locked the kayak boats. He would not share them. He was such an ass about sharing them. My cousins and his friends couldn't even use the boats because one year they did not follow proper procedure. My drunk aunt actually went and bought 2 more kayak boats so my asshole father would not interfere. So now we have 2 kayak boats chained up over here and 2 kayak boats chained up over there. Fucked up. Here comes the good boomer stuff. So back to the trip to southern Maine I take with my daughters. So we do our trip in 2015, rough ride up that year. I get a call the day after I arrived in southern Maine that my grandma on my mom's side passed. Shit, we just moved in and we are now on our vacation, and now this. Fuck, enough already. Besides bad dementia, my grandma had health issues. She masked it in front of the group. My grandma on my mother's side was a church nut. Remember, I have no interest in church. and my parents knew better than to push it on me because everything was churchy. I wasn't running home for grandma who pushed the Bible in my face every time I saw her. The Bible was pushed on me probably because my mother always bitched about how horrible it was to have hyperactive curious hands on have a hyperactive hands-on curious kid. Yeah, you're lucky she didn't shove Ritalin down your throat. I was constantly compared to my cousin who was an altar boy. I resisted the guilt attempts. This caused my grandmother to react by shoving the Bible in my face every time I saw her. Although my grandmother never did a Bible push when anyone else was around, she only did it when it was just me and her. My mother also smear campaigned my wife. My marriage is a topic for another time. So when my Italian grandmother on my mom's side died, I made the decision to remain with my kids at the cottage. This special trip was not going to be ruined. I was not going to drive from southern Maine back to upstate New York when we just freaking arrived. Same thing happened when his grandfather died. We were in Florida. We were down here. I think we were in Orlando. Got a call that he died. I'm like, well, we weren't coming back for that. Sorry. May sound narcissistic of me, but I don't do Catholic funerals. Plus, I wasn't going to get my daughters near my basket case of a mother. No way that my daughters were going to see her that way. Thank God my friends from high school were there with us. They kept my daughters entertained during the many phone calls I will describe as below. Oh, I'm sure it was. That didn't go over. You better come. See, my father was fine. He didn't have to come back. Okay? But God forbid you don't go. Okay, the rules don't apply. Ain't the same rules. So I get the first of many calls following Boomer playbook of power. Remember, I am at my grandparents on my father's side cottage. My grandmother on my mother's side just passed away. It gets better. Each call had its own caller, but the group was there. They should have Zoom conferenced the bitch. Oh well, that wasn't a thing then. Phone call number 1. So I get the reminder call from asshole father. You know that nice call with the nice gentle reminder that says, we're sorry your vacation will be short. No, it won't, motherfucker. Don't tell me with my fucking vacation as a grown-ass man. Who the fuck? Fuck off. No, it's not. You don't get to fucking decide. Like it's a foregone conclusion. We're sorry your vacation will be short this year. We wish you a safe drive. Fuck is a gaslight. We wish you a safe drive home, and we're sorry that this has to happen. No, nothing's happening because I'm not coming. I was expected to be back in upstate New York the Friday evening of that week for calling hours. I was also told to be at the funeral home on Saturday and be ready to carry my grandmother's casket. Of course, I threw in the bullshit word. They threw in the bullshit word salad. We can be flexible if necessary with calling hour attendants. They talk to me like a child, and they still treat me like a child. Yep. Phone call number 2, my mother made this call. Tears on the other end of the line as to be expected. Death in the family, she just lost her mother. But these tears had an agenda. Tears followed by a lecture, condescension, telling me that it's okay not to attend calling hours. That take another day if you need it. Oh, gee, thanks. Thanks. When I told them I wouldn't be a pallbearer, they didn't fight it because they still hadn't gotten to the threat phone call yet. They said, okay, you don't have to do that, but you're expected to be there at normal funeral start time. I said I will make the decision based on how good of a time we were all having. Call ended. Nope, you shouldn't even have said that. You said, I am on vacation with my children, okay? And if my children are away on vacation in southern Maine, okay, 40 years from now, when you die, I wouldn't expect them to come home either. One day passes between phone call 2 and phone call 3. My asshole father would walk his dog in a popular dog and hiking park in our area. My father and my friend from high school's father walk their dogs in the same park. They know who each other are and give a nod when they see each other. I mean, shit, they worked in the same building at Kodak and lived down the street from each other. So my asshole father stopped my friend's dad in the park. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Anything to bash you. He, of course, started with the smart-ass talk of us being at the cottage together, transitioned into the attempted Hoover. My asshole father was going to attempt to use my friend's dad as a flying monkey. Asshole father pretty much made the case to my friend's dad to talk to his son and daughter-in-law. Wow, you sack of shit. Wow. No boundary. These boomers know no fucking boundary. No respect. So, not only does he not respect you as a man, you don't respect your friends. He goes to your friends' parents. Fuck off, boomer. My friends from high school are happily married, and my father knows this. My boomer narc insecure asshole of a father thought he could get my high school friend's dad to get my best friends from high school to turn on me. I know this is true because we were walking on the beach that night when my friends received a phone call about my father's hoovering attempt to get a flying monkey to do his bidding. This is some messed up stuff right here. We went for ice cream after our walk and then arrived phone call number 3. Interesting timing. Third call, threat time. I didn't answer it because I know their game. It's threat time. I remember my father's words to a fucking T on this one. He was doing my narc's bidding for her, my narc mother's bidding for her, of course. Thank God my friends from high school knew what assholes my parents are and how fucked up my home life was there to keep me strong. They listened to the message first and then handed it over to me, busting my chops. And here is your punishment. The third call, the voicemail sounded something like this. May you rot in hell, Father. His exact words. If you don't show up on Saturday for your mother, you will be making a significant decision that will affect the rest of your life. Here's how it starts. You will not have the 2 weeks in August to get with your entire family. Your boys are only 1 year old and won't remember anyway. The girls have enough memories. Kiss your vacation goodbye in August. This could have been said by this is how my father does it. This is he starts threatening to take, like you're a child, of what he's going to do, of what he's going to take from you. Things that aren't even his in the first place. Locks are being changed if you don't show up for the funeral services. I cracked in the evening and returned his call, and of course, he never has the balls to answer after he does something to piss someone off. At this point, I made my firm decision not to go and left that in a voicemail to him. Decision made. We stayed through the next week. Phone call number 4, which probably made it even easier for him to sell the cottage, which is why he sold the cottage. Oh, yeah? Watch this. Phone call number 4. My sister calls me that Friday morning to check and see if we left Maine. I said nope. She got pissed and did their bidding. I even asked her if she thought it was fucked up that a grandfather would deny his grandchildren 2 weeks at a place that was going to be sold a few years later. She backed up her narc dad and my narc dad. She backed up her narc dad and my narc dad and mother and the entire family's bullshit to hurt children to assert their power. My sister said to me, the family conference to determine your punishment, and you should be punished for this. And all of us agreed this was appropriate. Punish like a child. This is it. This is the narcissist. This is the baby boomer. You need to be punished. Fuck you, cunt. Fuck you, cunt. She didn't have any children then, and I bet her view would really be different now if it was her. Punishment? I was in my mid-30s then. Really? My parents didn't see their grandkids for almost a year after this shit. They, of course, vilified me to both sides of the family and ran one hell of a smear campaign. They have run many other smear campaigns in my life. Used to it. Quick note, I should have gotten no contact with my parents because of this, but I was being narcissistic. I knew if I cut it off, I would never see the cottage again. My boomer therapist I had at the time simply said, play them at their own game. Don't let them see the kids. However, we had to go do an intervention with her in order to be civil and not have legal stuff brought up for visitation. Suddenly, they care about their grandchildren. I knew what I was doing. I was playing along so I could say goodbye to the place I grew up at some point. My parents thought they were off the hook for what they did not change. Thought they were off the hook for what they did not change their behavior. It became worse. That's a story for another time, and it is why I have been contact free of them since March 1st, 2020. Finally, to my Gen X aunt on my father's side and my Gen X uncle on my mom's side. My Gen X uncle spent tons of time with me. I love Star Trek, and he would take me to conventions. I bought a model flip communicator with my own money, saved from many birthdays and Christmases. This was a big deal, and I wanted something cool. Shit, I was a little kid then. So this excited kid comes home proud of himself that he saved for this communicator mode. As soon as my uncle left, my uncle laughed at me and told me how much I got ripped off and how much I wasted my money. Asshole. Yep, everything I bought was a waste of money. Everything I brought on my own was a waste of money. Everything. I remember watching MTV in the 1980s and when with Gen X uncle. He was finishing high school when I was very young. He introduced me to great music videos. There was no cable or MTV in my house. My asshole parents refused to pay for TV services. They do now, though. My Gen X uncle invited us to his oldest daughter's wedding in November 2019. They were happy we came. I went because I respect him and my aunt. My Gen X uncle has class. He didn't care about what others thought. They even invited us to a private brunch the next day where no one from our side of the family was there. It was great to be comfortable, although my Gen X uncle threw one hell of a wedding and everyone partied. So here I am now. So here I am now in my life. Remember Gen X aunt went no contact with my grandparents in 2011. She is the most educated and human of all her narc boomer money grabbing siblings. We had a great relationship. While growing up, she was away a lot at college working on her doctorate. Little did I know this was her only escape and her second no contact attempt. My aunt always made time when I was a little kid to listen, talk, and not be judgmental. I also admire that she always called my father's side out on their bullshit when she was around, but she wasn't around often. The family hid her contact info. They told me she was in a mental institution. I finally got contact from Drunk Aunt in 2017. Yeah, they want to keep the rebels away from each other. That's just it. The boomers are protecting their The boomers protect their legacy. That's what they try to do. And they stick up for one another. This year, just before COVID-19 hit, I had a gut instinct to call her. I dug back through text messages, and I was lucky to find it. When I called, she picked up and was standoffish at first. Man, my grandparents really screwed her up. Once she heard my voice and believed the call wasn't something my father put me up to, she listened. She told parts of her story that she was comfortable with. After what she told me, I would not have come up either. That's what I was trying to tell you, man. She had her own reasons. But this conversation was significant because she told me that everything they did to me wasn't my fault. The head games, the lies, the gaslighting, manipulating, and making me feel like shit every day for who I was their MO. I also found out about all the psychologist visits and the different ones I was shuffled from as a kid. My family hid a major thing from me that I learned through her. Now we talk once a month. Gen X aunt, the black sheep of their generation, moved across the country and got her doctorate and knew to get away. And they said, so she went and got a doctorate, and they said she was, and the boomer said she was in a mental institution. Fucking losers. Because they know they are inadequate. The boomer knows they're inadequate. That's why they need everybody else's money. That's why they need everybody else's money. She said it took her until 49 years old to fully no contact, and she's been a great advisor, such as yourself, to guide what's coming. She also warned me about all the Hoover attempts of the 20th and 21st century. Gen X Ann had to get off social media because they would not leave her alone. She is in a good place now because she has been no contact for so long. I want to get to the point where she is. Ollie, I have barely touched anything. There is so much more, and I haven't even gotten into the stuff they really have done. I love your channel because it exposes these people and helps shut them down. Plus, it helps us survivors. I have worked so hard to get where I am now. The community I teach in is like family. Parents and alumni still stay in touch and have great thanks for helping their kids learn a trade and getting employment. By the way, never had the amount of kids hired right out of high school into tech jobs until Trump was president. If I have advice for anyone going through this, is start at home. Find the good channels like Ollie's, listen and relate, be firm with these people, and don't give in. What has worked for me when anyone comes to my home and attempts to get their manipulative gaslighting bullshit, I put them in line. They can either suck it up or fight. If they fight, I kick them out. No one will come into my home and tell me what to do, how to parent, or how to speak. It's been working quite a bit in the last 2 weeks. Thanks for everything, Ollie. I feel like Neo at the end of the first Matrix fighting off the Smiths without breaking a sweat. This COVID time and your resources really helped me to this point in my healing. Now we are into the Hoovers, and my Gen X aunt warned me. At the beginning, I mentioned Hooverman. Relative, not by blood. He was friends with my mother in high school. Hooverman has been hoovering because my children are not to see my parents right now. My aunt had him live 2 streets away. Sure, I could throw in social distancing and COVID-19 and all that. They don't care. They need their supply from their golden granddaughters. Notice my sons aren't mentioned here. And my parents are pissed, and they have no control. Because your sons are too young. Your daughters are at an age where they are prime targets to be turned against you, especially in this time. Last week, I got a text on my phone from a number I didn't recognize. It was a request to use my garage wood shop. Normally, I would say no problem, but when I found out it was Hooverman, no. No. Hooverman is drunk, aunt's husband on my father's side. And all you would need is to have him get injured on your property or get hurt, and then they try to sue you. No. Be careful, because either they're money hungry anyway. No. Ever. Hoover is drunk aunt's husband on my father's side. I told him I am going through some tough stuff right now and cannot help. Thank you for respecting my boundaries. You would think that would work. Nope. Next day he passes by the house and stops. I go to him to my house. The next day I am cutting my lawn with my son and he stops and rolls his window down. I gave him the peace sign and waved him on. I wonder who my parents will send around next. Anybody they can. Anybody that they think that they can leverage against. It don't matter. Anybody they think they can leverage against you. That's it. Thank you for sharing this story, and I hope it helps others. Ollie, you have saved my ass and opened my eyes, and I can't thank you enough for it. You and Charlene, take care, and thank you for all your dedication to helping survivors. And he sent an addendum to this as well that he wanted me to add on. I just gotta... Okay. See. Okay. If you could squeeze this into my story, can you add this in? I've taken out the names. If you could spot a name I miss. Hold on, I'm sorry. Okay, these are emails, I think. School is in session until June 19th. They are expected to attend Zoom meetings. They will not miss school to come to your place. It's on you for not respecting the process. Hold on. So it looks like, because these are all out of order. All right, I see. These unfortunately, Dan, came in out of order. Okay, hold on. I'm sorry, everybody here. Here we go. Did I get it? Hold on. Bear with me because for some reason it's just not opening correctly. It looks like they're trying to get him, the grandchildren, to come back to the house. But for whatever reason, they didn't. I thought they transferred right, Dan. They didn't. They're requesting for them to come over, and Dan's like, nah, fuck off. Like, fuck off. No way. No way, no how, not happening. So, I would keep it at that, Dan. Look, the bottom line is they're typical boomers. And at the end of the day, the boomer war cry is they're spending our inheritance. That's what this is all about. This is all about greed, entitlement, and money. Money that they didn't earn. But they think they did. They think they're entitled to it. The boomer war cry. They're spending our inheritance. It is what it is. So, I hope that helps. Thank you so much for your contribution and story, Dan. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions or advice in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, a narcissist you'd like to expose, you'd like to have a private video made, or you'd just like to make a contribution to the channel in general to keep it supported, growing, and successful, because this channel survives 100% on contributions from all of you. Without you guys, all of this goes away, and believe me, YouTube and Google are going to make that happen sooner or later. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do with the PayPal and email links in the description box. Also, please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. Also, be sure to follow me on the Library Backup app as well. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been the Narcissistic Resistance. Take care.